there, friends on YouTube. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. So honest it hurts. Now, welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about the iPhone 15 and whether or not it seems as though it will be worth the upgrade, whether you had the iPhone 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, you know what I mean. Is it going to be worth actually upgrading? Because every year Apple does a fantastic job of making it seem like the iPhone is going to make your life into a paradise of tech wizardry or something. But when you really break it down, that's not really the case. I mean, the iPhone is always a good phone, but over the past 3, 4 years, 5 years, little tiny incremental updates that have been good sometimes and maybe just kind of meh other times. I've got a list here in front of me of some good, some kind of meh, some kind of bad updates that have been prognosticated to be coming in the iPhone 15 line. So that's iPhone 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max. And so 15 Pro Max this year seems to be the one that's going to separate itself from the pack, and the others, well. And if you want to see all of my iPhone coverage, of which there will be much, then do hit that subscribe button. Like this video, send it to your friends, and we'll continue to discuss in future videos. Number 1, charging goes up to 35 watts across the board for the 15 Plus, Pro, etc., which is great because charging on the iPhone has been a lot slower than a lot of the competition for quite some time. So they're bumping up the charging speed, 35 watts. You'll probably be able to charge it in less than around an hour and a half-ish. Hard to tell until you really get there. So I think that's a great change. Number 2, bigger battery / better battery life. If you've been following along with the saga of the iPhone 14 Pro models, you'll know that the batteries have been degrading more quickly than perhaps they should, and the battery life overall hasn't been all that great. Apple's sticking in a bigger battery and promising better battery life. Hopefully that battery degradation does not continue on in the 15 models, but that is a good thing to know. And then number 3, we have better Magsafe charging speeds across the board. Magsafe used to be, I think, 7.5 watts of charging. Now it goes up to 15 for all the models, which is great. I use Magsafe all the time, so it's actually my preferred way to charge. I don't really plug my phone in ever. Number 4, and this is a big one. I don't know why I made it 4, but number 4 is more storage. The 15 model, so the iPhone 15, starts at 256 gigabytes of storage. Now, Apple has, for the first time that I've ever remembered, they have parity with the Android competition. They've been doing 256 gigabytes of storage for some time now. Apple has brought themselves up to parity, not parity, with the Android side of the coin. Okay, so that's all good. Number 5, slimmer bezels. Now, I have here my iPhone 12 Pro Max. This is what I've been using for the past 3 years, I guess. Yeah, 15 minus 12 is 3. Yeah, okay. And you can see here, the bezels are quite thick. You see right along there? I would say this is about 3 point something millimeters on the 12. Gonna go down to 1 point something millimeters on the iPhone 15s, which I think is fantastic, because honestly, I don't really care about bezel width, but when you're looking at incremental updates and stuff like that, it will be nice to have like a really slim bezel there and just kind of really putting the cherry on top when it comes to that aspect of the phone. So I'm looking forward to it. And the last, and you could argue either most important or, well, I guess it's important, but they're going to USB-C for all of the phones. Lightning is gone. Phil Schiller said it was going to be 10 years, and it's been about 10 years. So Lightning is gone. Now, Lightning always had the same speed as USB-C 2, which is not very fast, okay? But this year, the iPhone 15 models, the regular and the Plus, they're going to get USB-C 2 speed. Most likely. That's what most of the people who prognosticate about these things have said. And at this point, there are so many corroborating pieces of information from different sources that most of this stuff is likely true. If it's not, sorry. USB-C 2 on the 15 models, the regular and the Plus, and potentially USB-C 4 for the Pro and the Pro Max models. Or, yeah, that means it's pretty much the same port that you have in the more recent iPad Pros and the same port that you will find on your MacBooks and your Mac Studios and etc., etc., etc. Fastest port that you can get in terms of USB-C, and it's like 40 megabits per second. That's really fast. And I forgot to say when I was talking about storage that it'll start at 256 down at the 15, but go all the way up to 2 terabytes of storage when you get to the 15 Pro and 15 Max. And I think it goes 256, 512, 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes. As a lot of people are using their iPhones for more professional type applications. USB-C overall is going to be a really good change. The one reason I am glad about it, it seems like when I do need a lightning cable, I can never find one. Okay? And so I don't want to have to look for lightning anymore and dig through 100 USB-C cables just for that. One sort of negative about USB-C for the Pro models is that Apple is likely not going to give you the Thunderbolt cable in the box. They'll probably give you the USB-C to USB-C cable, but they're not going to give you the Thunderbolt 4 capable cable. That's not long enough for you to use for your phone, at least not as a regular charging cable. This video is sponsored by the good folks over at tomtoc. They're making cases for your iPads, your tablets, all kinds of different things, and they sent me over their 4-mode case to check out for my iPad Pro 12.9-inch landscape mode, portrait mode, sketch mode, panel mode, so everything can just pop right in. And you've got a nice sealed package. Panel mode, this whole section comes off and you have just the iPad itself in this protective case. I like the option to be able to take this portion on or off. It has magnets that attach it to the iPad, then you just close it up, apply the flap, and you're ready to go. Open it up, fold it back into landscape. Has a place for your Apple Pencil. Sketch mode, start to sketch. The tomtoc 4-mode case with portrait, landscape, sketch, and panel mode. Check them out down in the description below. Thanks so much to tomtoc for sponsoring this video. Now let's move on to the meh section. Speaking of USB-C cables, all of the cables will be longer, 4 or 5 feet, I believe, as opposed to like 3 feet, which is very nice because if you want to use a lightning cable in bed, you either have to have your charging brick on the bed. While this is cool, I don't really think it's a make it or break it type feature for the iPhone 15 in this season. If you have a relatively recent iPhone model, I don't think that color matching cables that are a little bit longer are gonna really make or break your decision. Maybe not. You let me know down in the comments. Number 2 in the meh category is Dynamic Island for all models of phones. So last year, the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max got the Dynamic Island, which is the replacement for the notch. Honestly, I used the 14 Pro Max to review last year, and then a little bit after my review stuff was over, but ultimately, the Dynamic Island didn't make a whole lot of difference to me, and I gave the phone to my wife. I don't think she's ever done anything with the Dynamic Island. But in some ways, it's worse than the notch, because now, instead of just having this notch that, sort of takes out a part of the screen, you have this thing that goes across the screen, but there's some screen on top of it and there's some screen below. That to me is a little bit more intrusive than the notch ever was. Number 4 on the kind of like, okay, that's great, is Wi-Fi 6E. Wi-Fi 6E is great. Wi-Fi 6E is much faster than regular Wi-Fi 6. However, Wi-Fi 6E doesn't work unless you have a Wi-Fi 6E router. And if you don't have a Wi-Fi router that is Wi-Fi 6E, then you won't be able to really enjoy the Wi-Fi 6E-ishness of your Wi-Fi. And not many people have Wi-Fi 6E routers unless you just bought one and paid more than you probably would want to. TP-Link Deco Wi-Fi 6E is probably the best price that I've seen so far. They're usually pretty well reviewed. So if you want to go Wi-Fi 6E all over the place, then you can replace your router. But if you have a router that's working great right now and you don't feel like you need to upgrade, routers aren't the kinds of things that you upgrade all the time. Number 5, the fifth in the meh category is the new A17 chip that will be in the iPhone 15. It's more powerful, it's more efficient. A 3 nanometer process as opposed to the 5 nanometer process that the A16 had. The iPhones are already like crazy fast and are well outpacing the applications that you use on them for speed and everything else. So while this is good, it's not really a deciding factor. I'm using the iPhone 12 Pro Max. This experience is still in usage the exact same as the iPhone 14 that came out last year, and I don't imagine it'll be too far away from what the iPhone 15 line will be like. So the A17, while a great move forward, won't make a lot of difference to a lot of people in their everyday use of the iPhone. Now we get to the bad. Some of these are my opinion, and the opinion of other people, I'm sure, but these are officially things that I would rather be better or that I didn't want to see in the iPhone 15 line, and so I'm putting them in the bad category. Shame, shame, shame on you, Apple, because this here, why am I doing that? This is not good. Just the other day, we got what seems like a pretty locked down idea of what the colors of these phones are going to be. I'm not impressed in the colors that the 15 is getting. I'm not impressed with the colors that the Pro models are getting. We've got iPhone 15, black, green, blue, yellow, pink. And instead of some of the bolder colors that we usually see, we always get a couple of really bold options with the non-Pro models. Instead of something bold, we're getting black, of course, is dark. But everything else is kind of like a pastel-y soft color. As somebody said in another video that I watched, this will be a case year. Make sure you get a case that you like if you don't like pastel colors, if you're getting the 15 or the 15 Plus. The iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, they get blue, silver, Titan gray. We've never seen a gray like this, and space black. The blue looks like the blue that we saw on the iPhone 13 Pro line. The silver is the white back that we've always had. The Titan gray looks intriguing. The space black, as always, is, you know, a nice black, but it's not like a deep black. I love the phantom black that Samsung uses these days. The one thing they won't have this year is a gold model, which is the first time we haven't had a gold model in quite some time. Number 2 in the bad category. And this isn't really bad, it's just disappointing. I'm not mad specifically about this, I'm just disappointed. And this is the camera. Now, the 14 series cameras were great. One of the pluses this year is that the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus will get an upgraded Sony Pancake lens that's pretty much the same as what the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max had. So you'll get better dynamic range and all of that kind of stuff on the lower end models. That's great. Everything will stay the same on the Pro model, and then the Pro Max will be getting a periscope lens. And the reason they call it a periscope lens is because since it can't go accordion out like a regular zoom lens, it does that sort of inside the phone, and then there's a mirror and it goes like that. The 15 Pro Max's periscope lens, instead of, I think it was 3 times optical zoom with the previous Pro models, now we've got 6 times optical zoom and 60 times digital zoom. That'll be great for those who want to spend the money on the highest end model. And that's where we get to number 3 in the bad column, which is really number 1. I don't know why I did it in this order, but it's the, I should have gone in reverse numerical order. But the Pro models this year, it's been said in many different places, will likely see a $100 to $200 increase in price. And because this is just the Pro models, it's not going to hurt everyone, which is good. But for those who are choosing the Pro models, especially if you just choose the regular 15 Pro, you're not getting a whole lot for that extra money that you're going to spend. Now, the Pro Max is a little bit different story because you get the additional camera features and all that. But when it comes to whether or not you're going to change phones and upgrade to the 15 this year, that price increase for those who go with the Pro models, that price increase is one of the biggest reasons, maybe the biggest reason why you're going to want to hang on to the phone that you have until there is some real significant change. We've had the same form factor, although the outside rails on the Pro models are going to go to titanium, and they're going to be brushed instead of this like fingerprint magnet shiny edges. But that's not even something that I would really consider when it comes to whether or not I was going to buy the phone. I don't like the fingerprints, but this is where the rubber meets the road. If I didn't have to buy an iPhone every year so that I could do these reviews and tell you what I think about it, then would I upgrade from the 12 Pro Max to the 15 Pro Max? Because I always go with the Max version of the phone. And after I finish doing the reviews, will I keep the 15 Pro Max instead of going back to the 12 Pro Max or even buying a 13 Pro Max? I still love that green color, the sort of like army green color that came out with the 13 Pros. That color was very sexy, and I kind of still want that phone for that color, shallow though it may be. In fact, that might be my move for an everyday phone. I may upgrade to the 13 Pro Max with a higher storage capacity and wait for the 16 line to come out and see if they make any significant changes. All these changes aren't really that big a deal. Not many of them move the needle very much. The screen isn't changing from anything that I've heard, and the experience overall isn't going to get that much better. It will, of course, be the most powerful iPhone ever. I love that they say that every year, because of course it is. You've upgraded the chip. But if you're struggling with battery life, or USB-C or Thunderbolt is going to make a big difference to you in your daily usage of the phone, maybe that's something to consider. If you have the 13 or 14, I don't know that you really need to upgrade at this point, because this is something to consider. This year, the iPhone 8s and the iPhone 10 are losing support for the latest version of iOS 17. So they'll be left behind, but still the 10s, the 11, the 12, the 13, 14, it's like 5 years worth of phone. Those guys are still going to be upgraded to the latest version of iOS, and therefore I don't think your experience with those phones will suffer. In this day and age, I think a lot of people are hanging on to their phones for a lot longer than maybe they used to. Your carrier is going to make it enticing to maybe trade in your phone and get a new one. And if you want to do that, that's totally fine. But if you're one of those people who wants to get everything that you can out of a phone before you upgrade to something else, there doesn't seem to be anything really, really compelling about the iPhone 15 line to make it absolutely like, yes, I have to have this. This might be a wait and see until the iPhone 16 year for the majority of you. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'm anxious to see what it is that you have to say, and we can have a boisterous discussion. Otherwise, do hit that like, subscribe, notification button. Look at the merch down there. You can get this Painfully Honest shirt. You can get a lot of different stuff. And also, there's a link to my link tree, which has all the links to the books that I've written, the music that I've made, the t-shirts that I recently designed that are available on Amazon. Check out that link tree. Go and do those things, because all this stuff helps me in my journey to 500,000 subscribers by next week, or, anything that you can do to support the channel is I really appreciate it. It's great. So thanks very much. Once again, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I am out.